But kudos to the Denver Broncos. It was a big win for them. Just the kind of thing at a time when
they needed some
everything
uplifting,
felt like it was teetering.
Start, right?
Vance Joseph, there were questions about his relationship with Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Payton had, caught on camera last Sunday upset with Vance Joseph, and I think somebody was trying to suggest at one point that Vance Joseph was in danger of getting fired during the season. So that stabilizes when you hold the Chiefs to 9 points.
9 points,
and you get
2
your
weeks
third
ago
win of
was
the
19 points,
Yeah.
right? So they've turned the corner a little bit. They are playing better
This
defense.
team that gave up 70.
Yeah.
70 points
Right.
against the Dolphins. It was as bad as it could get, and now they're working their way back into not just out of the category of embarrassing themselves, Chris, but they're working their way into contention.
Yeah.
Fringes
Yeah.
of contention.
They got some players on the defensive side of the ball. It starts with 3 of their edge rushers. You saw one there, 0 in Cooper. 56 and Barrett Browning is a star pass rusher. Nick Bonito, their other kid who's a third-year player out of Oklahoma, he's another guy that's scary off the edge. They got Ronnie Perkins, who's scary off the edge. That's why Frank Clark and Randy Gregory aren't there anymore. They started to say, hey, these young guys are every bit as good, and they make plays, and let's ride with them. Let alone, you got Surtain in the secondary and Simmons, who are damn good. I mean, that's a great combination. So there's some stuff to work with there. But they've definitely righted the ship here on the defensive side of the ball. Offense wasn't special yesterday. They stayed on the field. They ran the ball just well enough. And when they had some opportunities, they scored touchdowns. That was the big thing. I mean, the Chiefs had a hard time scoring touchdowns, obviously. Had to settle for field goals. We don't see that happen a whole lot. Broncos scored touchdowns, and Russell Wilson never made what we've seen in a lot of their losses this year, that bad turnover or that bad play in a big moment. I know he got strip sacked at the end of the first half. There was that. But other than that, he took care of the football. It was an ugly football game. It was one of those games where you felt like Denver was controlling, but you felt like Kansas City's going to get control back and still win this football game. And it just, the mistakes by Kansas City. Valdez-Scantling fumbles when they're on the move on another time on a drive. It was one of those days, like you said. They played with their food. They felt like they were just going to show up and beat the Broncos. And the Broncos had, other plans in mind.
And I spoke too soon earlier about the Broncos possibly being in contention. There's a lot of teams.
Oh, the AFC
that they would have to jump over. There's only one team.
They put themselves in a position if they can go on a streak to be in contention.
Because they're gonna have to get past some teams because
right.
their record in the conference is 1-4, which is not going to be good for tiebreakers if it comes to that. The cheese that's standing alone at the bottom is the Patriots.
Isn't that crazy?
They're the only 2-win team in the entire conference.
In the AFC.
Everybody else has 3 wins, and they're the only 6-loss team in the entire conference. So that is not good. That win over Buffalo kind of stopped the horrible flow
bleeding
of blood, but
yeah.
It didn't stop for very long. So I will probably talk about the Dolphins and Patriots at some point coming up. Anything more to say about Broncos Chiefs before we move on?
No,
we're actually a couple minutes ahead.
I'm crazy impressed with the Chiefs defense as usual. I mean, they were suffocating and made plays and kept giving the ball back to Kansas City. George Karlaftis was all over the place. Charles Omenihu had a bunch of plays yesterday. They're aggressive. They're so well coached on that side of the ball. The Chiefs offense, we see moments of that Rashee Rice look really good, right? But who's going to be the next guy other than Kelsey in the pass game, right?
Gotta have somebody.
We've talked about this with the Bills a little bit. Kansas City, hey, it's a Andy Reid, their system. Of course, it's Mahomes. He's one of the greatest ever. But even within that, they need something else in the pass game, in my opinion. And I don't know if that means go out and trade for something, or they just have to find ways to get other guys a little bit more involved so it can open up their offense. We talk about this all the time. It just can't be Kelsey and him working the middle of the field as Mahomes floats around and does that. There's got to be something else in their game plan. We know they're running the ball better, but something in the pass game plan where teams go, ooh, they're really a pain in the butt in this too when we have to stop this. There's one element still missing with their offense, and they got to figure that out.
And what was weird was a week ago against the Chargers when you see Kelsey go off, it's like, man, I really need
I know.
Do they really need anybody else?
Yeah, I hear you. But you got to remember it's the Chargers.
And that's right. The Chargers, who seem to not realize they face Travis Kelce twice a year. The Broncos understand they face Travis Kelce twice a year. Even though Kelce's always going to get something.
They can live with 6 for 58.
Exactly.
Right.
When there's nobody else that can do anything.
That's right.
On a day that the defense wasn't as stout. First time the Chiefs gave up more than 20 points all year long. That's kind of surprising when you think of the Chiefs. So identified with offense.
Yeah.
That their defense has been carrying the way.
Well,
and
they gave up 20 points. And think about this. The first drive of the game was a 10-play, 39-yard drive, right? Because they had a great punt return. Then they had the turnover, and I think this was the Marquez Valdez-Scantling fumble, and Wilson hit a big pass play to Judy. I think they ran the ball, and then he hit Judy again for the touchdown. So that was one of their most significant drives of the game. And then late in the game on their third touchdown to make it 21-9, it was a 2-play, 10-yard drive, right? Because that was when McCole Hardman fumbled the ball. So, yeah, they gave up 20-plus points, but it wasn't really that, right? The context of the matter is the team messed up and put them in some tough situations. And, fortunately for Denver and Russell Wilson, they struck when they had the opportunities. And that's what you got to do against the Chiefs.
Here's a point Coach Garrett made last night when we do our wrap-up of the Sunday that was.
Right.
Great move by the Broncos to shed a couple of guys who they didn't want and who didn't want to be there. And
exactly. Didn't want to be a part
Clark,
of it. Right.
But, if you've got anybody who's not buying in early, it's critical. You got to get those voices. I'm not saying anything pejorative, but you're talking about veteran players who are wondering what the hell's going on.
Right. Don't want to be part of
and you got younger guys that are
hungry.
Yeah. And so you make the difficult decision, but the right decision. And this is where Sean Payton, I know, is a firm believer, never doubled down on a mistake. The moment you know something's done, it's done. If you double down on it, it's only going to get worse. If you let ego get in the way of admitting your mistake, ego is going to carry you to a second mistake. So Frank Clark gone, Randy Gregory gone, defense playing well. And, a lot of work for the Broncos to do to turn this thing around. But at least it's something that can be a piece of a foundation for maybe whatever they do next year, with or without Russell Wilson. Whether he's there or whether he's not there, that's still a big decision they have to make. $37 million becomes fully guaranteed, fifth day of the league year in March. Maybe they move on from him, maybe they don't. Regardless, the program is there. The fire has been put out.
That's right.
This is a huge win from the standpoint of just kind of eliminating any discussion that – because we don't know – I've said this. We don't know what Greg Penner, the owner of the team, is going to do. They've only had the team 15 months.
Yeah.
All we know is they fired one coach after 1 year.
Right.
Now, they didn't hire that one. Would they fire this one after 1 year? I don't know. Beating a team like the Chiefs and ending that long streak and getting a win at home 2 weeks in a row that they've won at home over the Packers and now over the Chiefs, that's the kind of thing that goes a long way toward just stabilizing.
Definitely. It shows ownership and the front office, hey, the things are on the right track. We're not perfect, but we're battling. We're doing the little things to win some football games here. And they've won 3 out of 4 now here. And they do seem like they've calmed things down. And again, Russell Wilson, is it magic and what we saw those years with the Seattle Seahawks? Absolutely not. But still, and there's been some mistakes, but still, at the end of the day, we're talking about 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Right? It hasn't been as bad as I think sometimes people portray it in the media either. It's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. He's missed some plays. There's no doubt. But I think he's on the right track, and I do think Sean Payton's done a good job of kind of resurrecting him.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.